Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. All right. Take about 30 seconds. We're gonna kick this thing off. I'm not gonna hold up too long. But today, so who is on, if you're on Monday's chat, or Monday's huddle call, drop a 1 in the chat or give me some thumbs up. Samantha said something. If you guys know her formula that she said, I know Nick has one similar to it, but I think it's different. But I think it's similar. But if you can put Samantha's formula in the chat, that'd be super awesome. And what I'd like to do is, it was funny, after that call, I got a super rock star, one of the coolest people I've ever met in my life, calls me or sends me a text message. He's like, "Hey, Dustin, I wear my swag everywhere I go." So he wears Prove It gear everywhere he goes. He goes, "But I don't seem to ever get any attention from it, like, or an attraction from it. Like, I don't feel like that's the thing that converts." And he goes, "What do you think?" And it was pretty cool because it made me stop and actually think about it. But, and I want to talk about that today also. But what I want today to be is, Samantha said yesterday, it's, can somebody unmute and say what she said? I think it was not conversations. Was it conversations? Somebody unmute. Lynn, tell me what she said. Exposure plus conversations equals results. Right. So, and then I asked the question, well, what about people that don't get exposure? Or what about people that are having conversations, but they're not getting a result? Like, what are the missing pieces in there? And what I'd like to do, if you guys are all game for this, is, I know, I don't remember if it was Lisa that was on. I think it was Lisa. I don't remember. I think she maybe stepped away now. But what I'd like to do is, instead of just talk about, now think about exposure. Exposure is basically attraction, right? So when Matt texted me on after the huddle call and says, "Hey, I wear my Prove It gear all the time, but I'm not getting attraction from it," right? I'm not getting people to, they're not attracting to me for it. What I'd like to do is take a few people and walk through kind of your scenario. So if you're somebody in each one, we're going to take each one by one. And so the first one's going to be attraction or exposure, right? So maybe you wear your Prove It gear. Maybe you're doing social media posting. Maybe you got a networking group, but yet you feel like you're not getting anybody to even start the conversation. Like, they're not even getting to the place of having conversations, or you're not having as many conversations as you think you should be having. So therefore, is much exposure. And then what I would like to do, and I'm open to anybody else's feedback, but is coach you where you might be missing some gaps. So I want to start with exposure or attraction, right? They're one of the same. Number two, we're going to go, okay, once you have attraction, where is your conversation going? Does your conversation just stop? Does it not go anywhere? Are you a person? I was talking to a lady the other day. She was really good at attraction, but she would send out 30 messages, let's say, a week, but very few of them would ever respond back to her. So there wasn't a conversation. It was all one way. So she's getting exposure, but yet the conversation never continued. There was no continuation of a conversation to move them into a result. So what I need from you all, and then we'll finish with result. Result, I think, is the simple part. The first two are the key, because if you've been here for 6 months, 2 months, 2 years, 25 years, and you feel like you're doing all the right work, but you're not getting the result, you're going to get discouraged. You're going to feel like, what's wrong with me? You're going to, like, I've been there, y'all, so I get it. But I don't want to just talk any longer. I want to get into it. So I don't know, Lisa, if it was you that had a challenge with one of those things, but if anybody feels like they're doing all the work, they're doing all the things, but they're not getting exposure, I want you to literally unmute and say, "Coach me."
Coach me.
All right. Is that you, Lisa?
That's me. Hi, Dustin.
Yes. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Awesome. Okay, so this is important. Now, I want everybody else to listen, Because if you're a team leader, you might hear some things new, or you might go, wow, that sounds like one of my people. Or if you're relatively new, maybe you just need to hear from a different way. So Lisa, first question I'm going to ask you. So you're trying to get exposed. You want more people looking at you, basically.
Yes.
First question is, Lisa, are you okay with people watching you? Are you comfortable with people watching you?
At the moment, I have sweaty pits.
Oh, okay. So the reason why I say this is there is a law here, and the law of attraction. Y'all know that law? You guys have heard that law before? There's an internal component to this that I can't describe. That is it's magnetism from Joseph. So we sometimes we have asked that are actually being approachable. Are we? I mean, watched the Hitch before with Will Smith.
Yes.
He said that you got to take it's not you, Lisa, it's the movie. It says bitch written on your forehead. It's like she was unapproachable, right? And so we got to make sure we're approachable. Whatever that might look like, we got to make sure we're approachable. So I want to ask you, Lisa, is that something you can work on? Can you work on just your energy of being approachable?
Oh, I believe I'm approachable. I mean, I'm that person that people will come up to. People come up to me and tell me their problems for no reason. But
so
I don't even,
you have good attraction. So is it the conversation that you're struggling with? Did you get pretty good attraction?
I don't know what the problem is. I mean, I wear Prove It gear all the time. I talk to people. Right. I even make myself talk to people when I'm out in public. But yeah, I guess it's the conversation because I'm not necessarily making it into ketone conversation. It's more of I'm making the conversation to get over my own fear, but it never quite goes into the ketone conversation to the point where I do a lot of booths and tables so that people have to come to me instead of me going to them. And then even then I don't get the conversion.
You're saying, okay, so if you guys hearing this out, Lisa's really good at attraction. She's actually really good at people seeing her. She's not converting into a conversation that moves into a result. That's what I'm hearing, right, Lisa?
Yes.
Cool. All right, we're going to take that one first. I'm going up in my office. Y'all, just so you know, I got to take my daughter to school today, so I didn't pass up on that. It's one of the reasons why Prove It is big for me and my family. I was living in a career that I probably would have never taken my kids to school ever. And because of Prove It, I get to take my kids to school quite often. And so it's like the biggest gift in the world for me. So anyway, all right. So if somebody else out there that's doing all the work, but is not getting attraction, meaning I want you to come up next. Okay. So Lisa, let's go through this. So you're doing a lot of belly to belly, it sounds like to me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're able to start, even though it's uncomfortable to you, which I'm going to give you a big props for. Super stoked. You're uncomfortable, but yet you're able to create conversations. Are you more comfortable now than before?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Keep practicing that. Okay. Now, I'm going to be a scenario. We're at a booth or out in public. Are you doing, like I said, are you doing most of it face-to-face, person to person?
Yes.
And most of these people are people you don't know, right?
Correct.
Okay. Can you just give me out of the last 30 days, out of somebody you don't know, how many of you signed up and they bought that bought from your website?
In the last 30 days? 3.
30 days. 3. That's pretty good. How many conversations or how many attractions have you felt like you've had?
Well, I mean, I did a vendor booth, so I had 100 people at least that I got their information from that I talked to and for anywhere from 2 seconds to 5 minutes. Where'd you go? Where'd he go?
Switching to my computer.
There you go.
Okay. So let's lead to those conversations. Now, I want you to keep in mind, the first thing is expectations. When it comes to a booth, Energy still matters. And I mean, the fact that you got 3 is awesome. So what did you do in what did you do in those 3 that were so successful? Can you critique what you did in those 3?
I don't know if it had anything to do with me, because that's hard to tell, because I'm not even sure who those 3 actually are, or what I did when I first met those particular 3. Now, one of them I know was another vendor that I had spoken to on and off for 3 days during a 3-day
Okay.
vendor event. And for her, it was, she drank it, her inflammation was gone, she's totally in. She's drinking her product, and I'm expecting her to be a promoter by the beginning of the year. She keeps saying, I can do it at the beginning of the year. I can do it at the beginning of the year. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, it's Dollar Keto Club, but
all right, I'm going to come back to that one in a second. Okay, so I want to be clear for everybody. So we have the people. So Lisa's using the stranger approach, right? Using booths out in town. What I'm going to say is going to apply in all capacities. This is going to apply for your friends, your loved ones, your coworkers. And so, Lisa, what I'm hearing is right now, what I'm hearing is that you're really good at attracting people to you, but how do we get them to be basically convinced that they need the product? Now, first off, when it's a cold person that you don't know, you've never met before, when I joined Prove It, the guy that introduced me, I didn't know before. 9 months before I bought product, I had to develop the relationship. So if you're a person right now that is really good at attracting strangers, you have to be patient on the process of when they come in. Mm-hmm. They got to get to know and like and trust you. So what I would encourage for Lisa to do is her number one goal for anybody that's a stranger. I'm going to say stranger people that she doesn't have their phone in their hand. She doesn't know their sister. She doesn't know their dad, their kids, nothing. She doesn't really know anything more than this lady worked at the vendor or showed up at my booth, right? And that's okay. And there's a lot of people out there that are talking to strangers. So this is what I'm going to say. You have to find a way to get them in front of you in a consistent manner. So in my world, Lisa should judge her first level of success should be off of how many she can get to follow her on Facebook, let's say. Why? Is Facebook is her follow-up system. So she should measure, I got 50 people to follow me on Facebook from this event. And I got 3 signups. So that's like the second fallback. Why? Is because if those 50 people are following you, there's a good chance they're going to come to one of your next events. So now they see you at the event, they see you in between the events, and they see you at the next event. So now they're getting to know, like, and trust you. That's number one. Y'all, this is the same thing that applies to your high school friends. Your high school friends. Nobody in here is a young chicken anymore. You're not. Most of the faces I see are north of 30 here. So listen, I still sign up more people from high school in my hometown that I haven't lived in 27 years than I do anywhere else. And the reason why is the people that knew me from 25, 30 years ago, they don't know this guy. They know that other guy. And they probably don't think about that other guy ever because they have a busy life and they care about their own stuff. Nobody cares about your problems. They're all worried about their own, right? So at the same time, I need to get them in front of me to know, like, and trust me, right? It's going to apply the same. So that's the number one tip. The number one thing is you have to get them in front of you. And that conversation is just the starting conversation. It's a continuous conversation. So for Lisa working with strangers, the goal will be is that can she get them to talk to her outside of the booth? That should be this is her measurement of success, because now she's moving them along the way. At a booth or at a coffee shop, you have 30 seconds, maybe a minute to really see if that person can interact. You have a short window. You have to be good at selling if that's where you're trying to make the close. So maybe it's a raffle that she does, or maybe it's invite them to a private group that she has. Maybe it's to, hey, listen, we're doing this is where I like, if you're a promoter, always have something you're working towards. Meaning, let's say that you have a 10-day challenge you're doing. You're going to go lose 10 pounds. You're doing a 5K walk. Invite them to something. Have something to invite them to. This is super important because what you're doing is that you meet them out in town, you invite them to something else. So, example, I use this on Sunday. The gentleman that did that walked by my house, stopped. We had a conversation. I found out very quickly through talking to him, asking him some questions, he was into fasting. We talked. I said, "Hey, listen, you should come fast with us." I invited him. Well, he goes, "When is it?" I go, "Actually, it was on Saturday, so it started on Sunday night." I go, "It starts tomorrow night. We're doing a 60-hour fast." He's like, "Man, I've been wanting to do a longer fast. My goal is 80 hours, but I'm not ready yet." I go, "Well, if you can't make this one, you got to make the next one." So that was my first invite. Why did that work so well? Is now I got something to talk to him about. Okay, number one. That's number one. So now I have him something. So he has in his mind December 17th that he's going to do a fast with me. He got samples and everything else, right? So that's number one. Have something to invite him to. I don't know what it is. It can be, you get creative that way. If you have ideas of things to invite. Same thing with your friends from high school or from a coworker. If you have something to invite them to, it keeps the conversation going. Okay, that's number one. Number two, in Boost is a little different, but it's how do you ask the right questions? And you got to remember, the more that you know the person, the more that you can get in depth in the questions. The more that you don't know the person, the little harder it is to ask the right questions. So you got to ask the right questions. It could be, hey, which benefit would you want most? Right? If you have a conversation and you're trying to get them to talk about themselves, the more that somebody talks about themselves, the more they're going to convince them that they need it. Does that make sense? You want them talking about themselves. Now, you have limited time to do that. So what's really neat is that if you have the opportunity, this is good for friends too. If you have the opportunity, if Mia wanted to lose weight, she's one of my customers. She's from my hometown. She wanted to lose weight, right? So I wrote down how much weight she wanted to lose. I was able to follow up with her. She didn't join right away. We got connected. We had some conversations. I gave her some tips and things to help her out. I'm like, hey, I'm just going to help you. Let's help you get better. Well, I go, hey, have you really committed to losing that 20 pounds? Have you really put a lot of commitment into it? Or is it something you're just kind of wanting to consider, but you don't really want to do it? No, I'm really committed. Well, I tell you what, we're going to kick off a 10-day challenge. And I go, why don't you join us at the challenge to see if we can lose 2 or 3 pounds through the challenge and get you a head start. So I was able to invite her to something. Okay. But part of that was I talked to her and asked her enough questions to know what it is. So when conversations go dry, it's typically because you don't know what that person wants. You're just wanting to buy. What is it for them? How are you serving them? Kind of go to the servant mentality. You can't really ask too many questions. Okay, we will get to the result in a second. All right, because there's a point there. Last thing I'm going to say when it comes to the conversation is remember, I haven't done this training in a long time, but I got to meet a guy who's made millions and 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 millions of dollars in network marketing. And he goes, I have 10 minutes. What do you want? I've never done network marketing before. This is my first rodeo. I'm like a few months in and I'm like, what do I ask him? I go, well, if you're brand new, what do you need to know? That's what I asked him. He goes, if you want to make millions of dollars in this industry, he goes, follow these 3 things and never deviate. Do you guys want these 3 things? Do you want the 3 tips that I got? These are the 3 secret weapons. But Lisa, I think it's going to apply to you very, very well. Okay. And this is for everybody that needs to convert attraction conversations into results. The 3 things are this. Number 1, third-party validation. We want that person to see, we want them to be convinced by something other than us. This is super hard for me, by the way. Really hard for me because I can basically say it all. Like I can kind of walk the walk and I know the information so well. So the gentleman that came into my house, I have to literally, the first thing I did, he was fit. He was a fit guy. So I have a few fit guys in my phone. Hey, Matt, you got a shout out. I showed Matt's picture. And he's like, oh my God, that guy looks amazing. I'm like, yeah, he committed to our programs and what we do. So I validate him not through myself. I validate through a picture of somebody else. Number 1. Number 2, I sent him a video to watch and I say, hey, watch this video and tell me what you think. What's the biggest thing you got out of it? And he's like, that's a super cool video. He's like, I didn't know NASA was into this. NASA likes ketones. I didn't know ketones were that big of a deal. So that tells me he's super thinking about it, right? I use third-party validation because I could have talked him to his ears off. I want him convinced that he wants the things that I showed him. Does that make sense? He's coming back to me. I'm not going and trying to close him. He's asking me for more. Hey, by the way, I can get some samples to you if you want them. He texts me back. He drove back to get the samples. I didn't chase him. He chased me. You see the difference there? So that's the strategy of third-party validation. Now, there's a second part of third-party validation is you just taught them that they can do what you just did. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're always using your photo, which is fine, and a lot of times you're going to, if you're doing a transformation and you use your photo and somebody sees your photo and they're like, wow, you look amazing. That's great. But at the same time, you want to use other validation components to that. Okay. Just have other things to share with them that's pertinent to them. You have to read the person. Lisa, did any of those make sense or help you out?
They all made sense. And I try to do that, especially at a booth. Like I have laminated Christina Martinez Williams better story and Justin Morel's stories that I have laminated and said, you know, hey, I know these people. I didn't know them when they were bigger, but I know them now that they're smaller, and, you know, try to mix with people that way. Always have the campfire video ready to go. And then my third thing is that I usually try to ask them questions if they have any itises, so that I can send them a doctor video later to say, hey, you know, if whatever your big toe itis is, you know, maybe I have a video that I can share with you that does that.
You always try to ask that?
Maybe not always, but sometimes people are like, I've got, you know, they always say they have something.
So here's the thing. I would avoid that with the plague.
Okay.
You want to slow your business down, bring up all the medical stuff. And here's the reason why, is that we're programmed to pause on anything medical. 100%. We're just programmed to pause. I got to talk to my doctor. And I'm not thinking they shouldn't talk to the doctor. I think people should work with their doctors very closely. At the same time, what do they really need? If somebody has big toe itis or diabetes or whatever else they may have, like, what do they really need? Is they need energy, focus, and fat loss, maybe sleep. That's really all. Most people, that's all they really need. If you said to somebody that I have a thyroid condition, who most people with my thyroid condition are sluggish, they gain weight really easy, and they just look puffy all the time, right? If I just said to them, listen, what if this product has given me more energy than I'm 50 years old. I have more energy than I've had when I was 30. Could you imagine what it'd be like if you had energy all day long for 30 days in a row? How much more productive would you be? Because you just solved for their problem. You know, they have that problem. You solve for it. It doesn't matter. They're already going to drinking a Red Bull, a Monster drink, 4 cups of coffee. They're already doing all that. What you're doing is just providing a healthy alternative. If they ask, hey, is there anything that I need to know? Then you can send the video. Let them say that. You just solved their problem. What is their problem you're trying to solve? Right? Energy, focus, fat loss, sleep. Those are probably the 4 biggest ones. The only other ones that really, like, mood is a thing. The problem is people like my wife, who had a mood problem when she started. She was really hard to get started because she had a mood problem. So she wasn't really wanting to fix her mood. Fortunately, she just tried it, but it took a long time to get her to try it because she had a mood problem. She didn't want to hear it from me or anybody, to be honest. So, got that?
Got it.
Cool. But once again, I'm going to reiterate this. If you're doing stranger cold marketing, it's called, where don't know the person, the number one goal is it's how do you get them to do a follow-up? You know, I used to use text messaging. I stopped doing that because it never converted very well for me. But it could be emails. It could be, I love social media for that. To me, social media is my number one follow-up tool. This is my secret, is I focus on the audience that I want to focus on. Let's come back to that. I'm taking a lot longer than I anticipated, of course. All right, really quick. Anybody that's doing all the work around attraction that doesn't feel like they're getting anybody to see what they're doing? Is there anybody out there that's going, hey, I'm doing all this stuff, but I'm not getting anybody, nobody's seeing what I'm doing. Anybody got that for me? You guys are all good at attracting. That's good. Or are you just all afraid of talking? Come on. All right. Well, I'll just talk about it then, because I was like that forever. Me, Kristen Munchek. All right. You're working right now. You probably can't talk and work at the same time. All right. You ready, Christine? Kristen, sorry, Christine.
Yes, it's just kind of loud. So can you hear me?
Yep, hear you just fine. Okay, so you don't feel like you're getting much eyeballs on you or attracting you, right?
I mean, here and there, it's just converting.
Okay, so you're getting attraction. You're just having a hard time with the conversion.
Yes.
Okay, I would say all the rules I just said to her are going to apply to you. What's in it for them? What's in it for them? And then connecting them to a resource outside of you. I know Kristen very well, and she loves our product more than anybody, but it's about what is it for them? What's in it for them? What's in it for them? And then use a validation for something other than you. And that could be a guest Zoom. Listen, not everybody's going to get on a 30-minute guest Zoom when you first meet them. It's not going to happen. I'm just going to tell you, not everybody's going to get on it, but they may watch a 30-second video. They may watch a testimonial video. It's a continuous conversation that needs to take place to move them into the action of the big video. Does that make sense? It's a process. You have to be okay with marrying that process.
Right. I get a lot of just price objections, but these people are spending money on other things that are not helpful for them.
You're cutting out on me a little bit.
Like a price objection.
Price objections. Anybody else get a price objection? Price objection. All right, let's take that one on right now. And then I think Keto-ish is going to come on next. All right, Kate gets a price objection. Make Kate a co-host also, if you don't mind. So here's the thing about price. I'm going to flat out tell you right now, price is never the reason why people don't buy the product. It's not because they can't afford it. They don't have the money for it. Listen, I know money's tight, and I'm not going to say that it's not. I'm not going to be that ignorant. I just know that people are spending their money on something. It's a priority. They're every one of you all right now can look at it. You're buying something right now that you don't really need. Guarantee it. Ladies buy makeup all the time. I have cocktails probably sometimes more than I should, right? And like we all do it. We had a good friend of ours that she literally price. My wife and I decided that we were going to give it to her as a Christmas present. She had a really bad health scare, and she's been on it for like 5.5 years, never quit. But she said to us, listen, this is bullshit. She goes, I know, she's a teacher. She doesn't make a great income. She goes, I know that I need this, and I'm going to figure it out because I want to commit to it. She wouldn't let us get it for her because she knew that she had to make the right changes. Not like she had to stop drinking some wine, pay for her ketones. Now she drinks ketones and wine, right? She figured out how to make them both work out. So I just want to be clear to you all that it's not about the price. It's not about the cost that people don't buy. It's about the value and what it is, what's in it for them. Is it solving their problem? 100% of the time. Doesn't mean they're ready to buy today, right? They might buy in 6 months. They might buy in 6 years. Who cares? So first off, if you know that, the second thing is comes back down to what's in it for them. Why are they drinking and is it going to solve for their problem, right? So listen, somebody goes, I'm tired today. Oh, you should drink this. This will give you energy today. That's not really solving their problem to value a huge cost. But when I said, hey, what if you could have awesome energy for 30 days in a row? How much different would your life be? How much more present would you be with your kids? How much different would you be when you came home? Like how much more productive would you be? Maybe you could start exercising again. You pay for a gym membership that you don't go to. That's a waste of money. But what if you could drink something that gave you all the energy you needed so that you could do all the things that you want to do? Would that be worth it? Would that be valuable to you? That's super valuable because what you did is in that person's brain, they start thinking about how their life would be better. They validate the product for themselves. So it really comes down to, like, Kate, I want you to jump in too. Weight loss is another one. How much money have you spent on weight loss? and it hasn't worked. Well, first off, then why not try this? You've tried it all before. That might work in itself. But then you can turn around and say, listen, I have all these people that I know that have lost weight and maintained it, and it hasn't cost a fraction of any other weight loss programs out there. And true story, our programs and our product is a fraction of the cost of any other weight loss product system in the market. No comparison. And it actually is good for you. So, but they need to know that. And how do you do that is through questions and conversations, also understanding where they're coming from. It may not be a cost thing. It may be that they feel like a failure because they've always failed at it. Does that make sense? They're afraid of trying because they're failing. Listen, I know it's hard sometimes when you've tried a lot of diets. We see this all the time. But that's why we have a community to support you through your journey. And that's all included in the product, coaching and guidance. Everything you're going to get is with the just using the product. Plus, the product has a money back guarantee. You have nothing to lose to commit to this for 30 days. You just took away all their cost objections. So if they are not ready to get started, then you're lucky that they don't get started because they're not really committed to changing their life. So therefore, you don't have to drag them along the way. Does that make sense? Kate, I'd love for you to give your tip on cost objection.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I've talked to a lot of people every single day. I talk to a lot of people. So of course, price is going to come up. And I think it has a lot to do with the value. Like right now, I'm holding an iPhone. And I'm watching this Zoom. 20 years ago, if someone had brought this phone to me and said, hey, this is a really cool phone. I think you'll really like it. It's $1,000. Do you want to buy it? No one would buy a phone for $1,000 20 years ago, right? But we now understand the value. And I think even more than that is we understand the pain points. So for me, when I'm talking to people, like when I'm creating attraction and they're raising their hand and they're wanting information, I'm never leading with ketones, ever. In a conversation. Like if I talk about ketones and they raise their hand that they want more information specifically around fat loss, my first questions are, what do you think is making fat loss so difficult for you right now? Sorry, I was getting a phone call. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am. This
Okay.
is so good, by the way.
Okay.
This is so good.
I'm asking them like, what about losing body fat is so difficult to you? And then I'll even give them some examples. I'll say like appetite or not knowing what to eat, or actually I don't say what not to eat. That's only when I'm marketing my masterclass, but I say energy, appetite control, cravings, because what do ketones help with? All of those things. But I want to get them hung by the tongue. Have you guys ever heard that term, hung by the tongue? I want to get them hung by the tongue so they are admitting with their own words that they are struggling in those areas. So then I can offer them a solution and I can share a resource that explains how this product helps with their specific needs. It's adding the value. I'm not leading with, oh, hey, you wanted some information about ketones? Awesome. Watch this video and send me a thumbs up. I don't do that. I'm finding out what problem do they have, and I'm asking more and more questions. The more questions, if you are not answering questions, you are not in control of the conversation. If you are not asking the questions, if you're not asking the questions, you're like a plastic bag being thrown around in the wind out there. Always ask questions and get to the root, because you should have asked all of those questions and found out all their pain points before you ever talk about price. I'm a photographer. I've owned a photography studio for 20 years. Very successful studio. We don't put our prices on our website, ever. And yet we're the most sought after photography studio in a tri-state area. Why? Because we lead with value. We don't lead with price. Does that make sense?
I love that. I mean, it's so good. And it's a practice, y'all. This is a practice. It's a asking questions, a practice. I have a book right there, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's a really cool book if you ever got a chance to read it or if you want to read it. But it's just you're trying to connect to the person and solve for their problems. And I think what happens is we all are getting into this concept of we're selling ketones, because ketones are just amazing. People try them and they drink them long enough. 60 days on ketones will change your life. Like, it's just remarkable. But what is it solving for them? And that's why price is such a big objection, is that people are, they're justifying their glass of wine, they're justifying their pizza night, they're justifying their makeup, they're justifying all these things that they spend money for. There's little legging pants that people wear, whatever it is. But because they value it enough, because it solves for their problem. Their problem is their legs look fat in regular pants, so they're going to wear these tight ones and make them look skinny. At least my wife tells me that stuff. I don't know. So that's why they justify it. Well, I can spend more for it because I'm going to actually, whatever, I'm going to feel more confident in them, right? That's good. There's nothing wrong with that. And that makes me want to go move my body more. Awesome. So we have to learn how to do that and get more granular on that. And that just takes super big practice. And I think, Lisa, for you, that'd be a good one. Hey, what's stopping you right now from your results? Right now, generally, some people are like, I just want more information. Sweet. Okay, here, go here and stick with me. I'll get you more information. But that conversation piece is super, super valuable. I want to wrap up with two things quick. Is one, on the attraction piece, I'm just going to be fully, you guys want me to be fully transparent on attraction? Matt hit me and said, hey, I wear my swag also. And I said to him, I go, listen, it goes in spurts for me. I truly believe when I'm wearing my swag out in town, that it's my energy. It's, am I being approachable? Am I being, like, I get in my head, I'm so focused on what I'm doing sometimes in my life that I'm not allowing people in, right? I'm not making eye contact. I'm not being approachable. Not that I'm Matt's one of the nicest guys I've ever met. And he's super awesome. He loves to give advice. The thing is sometimes we're just not in a place to be approachable, or we're not in an environment that is suitable to be approachable. So I always goes in spurts for me. I'll get like 4 or 5 in a row, and then I'm like, what am I different? And normally I'm in a different place. I'm more relaxed and I'm more patient and calm. And that's why I may be more attracting those people. But at the same time, I realize the swag is just one layer, right? It's, if I want to create the conversation, I need to create the conversation, right? I need to find a way to start that conversation. But I don't want to go into the cold marketing side of this. I want to go into more to the warm marketing side. So I've been doing some interviews with some teammates, and they're using social media as a driving attraction piece. And who out here is using social media as a high level attraction? And what I've learned is this, and I'm going to say this first time. I don't think I've ever said this in public or in a large group setting, but I think when we first start Improve It, if you're brand new, I want you to follow these principles. Is that if you're brand new and you're promoting, if you're starting to launch Prove It and you're starting to like share your story, you're going to want to keep it very safe, less ketones, less of this persona of selling a product, right? You're going to want to keep it safe, meaning post most about your family life, most about your life, and then pique the curiosity of using these, maybe a before and after picture or whatever it is that you're doing, your right hook of a post. You've been doing this for a while, then you have to make a decision that is your social media page, your business page. Is it actually how you're trying to attract people? If you're going to look at your Facebook, I use primarily Facebook, and Keto-ish, give me a second. If you're primarily going to use Facebook as your driver to or social media, you have to decide at some point that that's your business. Just make just clear. It's no longer, you're not posting. If you wake up every day and you're like, I'm checking my phone and I'm checking my Facebook to see if somebody's going to order my product, if that's your primary thought, then you got to change the way you're looking at your social media page. My social media page, I'm just being fully transparent, and this is my personal page, is no longer for my mom, my sister, and my friends. I'm going to call them. I'm going to text them. It's not. I'm doing social media because I want people to buy damn ketones from me, and I want them to join me as a promoter. That's why I'm doing it, right? Before Prove It, I'd never post it at all. At all. I never posted for anybody. I never did. So I've been playing on this rope. So I'm just going to say this. If you're committing to this as a business and you want to build with social media, and I think you should do both, person and social media. And just so you know, on my social media, I'm primarily recruiting people that I know from my past. I already have a level of connection. I'm not going out to a lot of strangers. I'm actually attracting my own people, on my tribe. But if I go to your page right now and I'm like, who are you? And I don't know who you are, and I don't know what you're doing, it's really tough because people are too busy with their lives to know what you're doing. So if you're going to commit to it, Meaning if I go to your page, I want to know, hey, I'm into low carb dieting, I'm into fitness, I sell ketones, and I love my kids and my family. That's who I am. You go to my page, that's what you're going to see. You're not going to be confused on who I am. And when I went to a lot of people's pages and I was looking at them, I'm like, I have no idea who you are. Not even a clue. You're going to confuse your audience. So I really want people to think about cleaning up if you're using social media as the driver. And this is why I do this. Most of my people that I sign up, I actually attract them through social media and I sign them up in person. But guess what? I'm the same person they see on social media as out in town. Because I'm the same. I don't change anything. I'm posting, it's me, it's me, it's me, it's me, it's me. And it's very clear on who I am and what my message is. Now, I don't care if it's crafting, if it's ketones, if it's low carb, if it's fitness. You pick your tribe. You pick your what you're going to do. But I think that's one of the biggest things I find with attraction is that people are actually not quite sure who they are. And that's not an easy answer. Come to Epic and talk to Joseph to find out who you are. But I just want to share that with you all because it's a constant that I'm seeing is you really need to attract your tribe, and people are going to get to know, like, and trust you once they really know who you are. And like, I have a guy, his name is Jeff. I don't know if Jeff's on. Jeff is amazing. Lost like 180 pounds, 160 pounds. He loves to barbecue. I went to his page and I'm like, this page, like, he is so talented. I went to his page and I'm like, I have no idea who you are. Like, not even a little bit. And he literally does. And Lisa, I would say the same thing for you. Like, if I go to your page and you like to do a lot of booths, I better see things of you in a booth on your page. Like, I want to know that that's the girl from the booth. Because if you ever meet somebody and then you go to try to find them on social media and you're like, is this the same person? Is this, you guys know what I'm talking about? Is this the same person that I just met? You meet me in public and you see me on social media, you're like, that's the guy. Like, I know that guy. He's the guy. Why? Because I make sure that I'm the same guy. Like, you can't confuse me with anything else. Does that make sense? And why? Because I'm trying to get people to attract to me. I want them to know me. I want them to have no questions that they're talking to me. Otherwise, what they're going to do is, I used to be really good at this and they would just buy it from somebody else. I would talk to a million people. We literally, Mitch Newman and I met a lady in a freaking bar in the airport. We sold her so hard. She showed up to our next event as a promoter under some other person, not on either one of our teams, right? Why? Because we inspired her in the moment, but we had no follow-up. She had no idea how to reconnect with us. She had no idea. Maybe it was the best for all of us. Who knows? I'm not judging. I'm okay with it. My point was, it was an aha lesson for me, is that she was truly interested, but she didn't get to know me any more than that moment that she got to know me. So let's just make sure that we're doing that. And I really think that's one of the biggest things around attraction outside of energy, just having the raw energy of people wanting to be around you. You know, if you have bitch on your forehead, not you ladies, you dudes, you got to watch the movie Hitch. It's you got to take bitch off your forehead. But if you have it on your forehead, people aren't going to talk to you. Let's be honest, or not the people that you really want to talk to you. And so that's an energy thing. That's a Zen thing. That's a mantra thing. That's everything about improving your physiology and your energy and your attraction, your magnetism. At the same time, just really make sure you know who you are. So I would encourage everybody. We're going to wrap up in 2 seconds. I always go long. I got to stop doing that. Keto-ish, I'm going to have you come on. And if you want to stay on and listen to the last portion, you can. But I would just tell everybody on here is get somebody to go, if you're using social media. And why I like social media as the assessment, it's easy for me to assess. It's hard for me to assess how you're talking to a person out in town or a coworker. That's going to be tough. But if I go to your social media page and I'm like, who are you? So I want everybody to get somebody to critique their page. This is what you're going to do. Can you critique my page? So if I go to Kristen, I go, hey, Kristen, can you critique my page? Send her your link, let her go through the page, and then say, Kristen, tell me who I am. Describe me with 10 words. And if she doesn't describe who you think you should be, then you're not portraying who you think you should be. Does that make sense? She might say, like, all she sees is sales, 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 and no personality and no person. She might say, yeah, you're trying to sell a product. That's all I see. And it doesn't take an hour. It takes 5-10 minutes to do that. But I want you to really know, are you portraying the person you are? Because if you're not doing it there, you might not be doing it out in town either. And so people don't know who you are. So therefore they're not going to really get a huge connection to purchase from. So that's my one thing. Last tip on going from a conversation to a result. I'm going to give you the biggest tip in the world. And if you deviate from them, most likely it won't work. If you do this, it'll probably work every single time. People will do what you did. So listen, you got to find what it is that you're selling. If you're a person that's selling the bundles, if you're a person that's selling ketones by themselves, if you're a person, don't sell everything, sell one thing. This is what I did. I bought 2 boxes of product. I got started, I got committed, and then I started after 60 days, I started implementing my fasting. My wife likes a flavor called chocolate swirl. Chocolate swirl is in protones, but it's not in ketones anymore. We have about 400 packs freeze-dried away for my wife. But guess what? When she started her weight loss journey, everybody bought chocolate swirls. Well, unfortunately, most people don't like chocolate swirl. So I'm literally, she did exactly what I said. She told them exactly what she did, but she actually told them the exact flavor too. And everybody bought exactly what she bought to the T. And she just said this, listen, this is what I did. This is how I lost 30 pounds. This is how I improved my energy. I drank ketones every single day. And be honest, if you drank them 1 a day for the first 60 days, say that. Don't force them to go higher. Just tell them what you did and then say, and I learned over time, if I was to do it again, I maybe would add a couple things if you feel like that needs to happen. But people will do what you did. If your first pack was, this is a gift. If your first pack was a promoter pack, who was their first purchase, the promoter pack? Mine was. So Lisa, you have the best gift in the world. So what I did is I invested. I spent $375 in my first order of ketones. I got a bunch of them. And because I knew that I was going to, if I liked them, I was going to share them. I started using them for trials. I tell people exactly what I did. Now we don't have the same bundle, but we do have bundles very similar to it. Guess what? I told them my price point, $375. When it comes to price, one of the biggest mistakes we make is that we try to sell people. How many people sell them the low price? Oh, you can get it for $97.50. You can get it for $99. No, it's $130. It's $135 for a box of ketones. Oh, by the way, we have a discount. You want them to hear the high price first, not the low price first, because everything climbs on their psychology. This is basic sales psychology. So if you spent $500 on ketones, your first order, tell them that. Yeah, I invested in myself. I started with $500 worth of ketones. Good thing is you can get them less than what I spend for them, but that's what I did to start because I was committed to my health journey. I knew it was going to take time. Well, now price is way better when they're like $500 when they hear, you know what, $230. Oh, that's not so bad. It just naturally feels better when it's less than what you started with. But tell people what you did to get started. The more you spent when you start, the better it is. Because guess what? That they know your commitment. They know that you were committed. They know that you invested in yourself. They're more likely to also buy what you bought. Lynn is world-class at this. Absolutely world-class. She's like, Lynn, everybody needs 3 boxes of product. Lynn sells 3 boxes at one time. She has a hard time selling a box, right? Because she just does what she tells them what she did, her investment. And she has an expectation that comes along with that. Doesn't mean you can't sell it for a less, but just saying you can sell less, but start with the full amount that you did. If you did a trial, be careful. Because you tell people what you did, well, I did a trial first. You're going to sell a lot of trials. That's okay, but just know that it's a longer process. If you want to skip the trials and just say what your first order is, you can skip that part. Just make sure you leave it out and then downsell to a trial. So, all right. I talked too long. Was this valuable at all? Was this valuable? I hope it's valuable. My goal is that I think people are getting stuck and they don't know where to go. And I'm hoping by giving people coaching, and I think we should do more of these, to be honest, but you have to come with the real hard questions. All right, Keto-ish, if you want to jump off, you can jump off. Keto-ish, I'm gonna take yours. So tell me what you got, Keto-ish.
Hey, it's Keto-ish Liz from
Keto-ish Liz.
from Calgary, Canada. And I don't know why you're telling
Nice.
people to jump off before I speak. Like, I got something to say.
Well, I was supposed to be 30 minutes long, and I'm at 50.
Okay, well,
So
we're
if you
going
have to
through
go,
an
you
hour
have to
now.
go. But stay on and learn
it is
more.
what it is. Everybody's still here. So, yeah, I just wanted to touch on a couple of things that you were talking about. I took some notes now that I knew I was speaking. But so a little bit about me. I'm been in the business for just over 6 years. I hit rank 6 once last year in October. And I've just been keeping at it. I have my up and downs in life and in the business, but I'm really passionate about this drink. I even have a tattoo, and I'm super excited. In 9 days, I'm going to Dallas, Texas for the first time for Epic. It's not my first event, but it's my first live event since COVID. So I'm super pumped.
Wow.
But yeah, so I really wanted to touch on like the people not seeing your posts. I have a few things to touch on. The people not seeing your posts, because my stories have been low. Like sometimes in my story views, I have like over 200, 300, like, and they've been low, like 40. I'm like, what's going on? So I've just been posting more. Like I'm getting super excited. Like I just went live video, hair a mess. Like I'm so excited about the 50% off. Like I'm just posting more in my stories on all the platforms, doing all the things more. Like the more engagement posts. Like you need to do those engagement posts frequently. So I did, what dress should I wear to the Epic Gala? And it just blew the freak up. I'm doing like more posts about motivation. I'm doing more reels. I'm getting creative with my reels, doing dancing reels, trying to attract my tribe, and not just doing reels about ketones. Like the reels are my little dancing, getting creative. So I'm doing that more, like just posting more throughout the day. Like just because you posted about ketones one time doesn't mean you get to post again. Just post the other things first. Like don't just be all ketones. And then the more messaging, right? So when we're messaging more about, and I've been in Facebook jail so many times for messaging the same message. So I've really been trying to switch up the messages. And now, because I'm in Canada, the Keto Up sale that was going on, I went to Facebook and typed in friends in the USA. And I went through the whole list and I started messaging all those people and creating conversations just to, how are you? How was your Thanksgiving? So now they're popping up, and like, it's just doing more, right? So sometimes we think we're doing all the things, but you can.
I'm going to touch on that for a second. So I think so the first thing about social media that I think that people have to realize is they're a business. Social media in itself is a business. The platform itself is a business. So it's funny because Liz is posting more, getting more engagement. I'm posting less and getting more engagement. Mm-hmm. So how I would have you perceive it, this is the challenge that people they're looking at it, is like like I said earlier, like you have to decide if you're using it as a business, then what are your parameters of success of that business, right? It's like if you put a billboard out on town and people are driving, but nobody's driving by it, well, then that's the wrong place to put the billboard. You can put more billboards on the same street and may not get any more action because the people aren't actually seeing it. You got to move the billboard to a place that they can see. So is it possible that you're getting more engagement because you're messaging more people, and that's getting Facebook to say that you know them better and they're seeing your posts that they would have saw otherwise?
Yeah.
So what I would encourage people to look at on, if social media is a tool that you're using, is first thing is the posting isn't the work. The posting isn't the work. The success to social media is all the other things. It's the commenting on somebody that does comment on you. It's liking that post. It's going on their page and commenting or liking their stuff. It's the private messages that you're having with everybody. That's the real success that's going to drive your post up. So what I've done, just for full transparency, I think you do both. I think you might try, hey, I'm going to post more of my life to see if I can get more people to engage, which I've done that too. And then recently I've actually posted way less, more strategically. And I spent more time because I have a limited time in my life. That's not probably true. I actually have all the time in the world. Social media is not my main driver for my business. So I prioritize it a lot lower than what I do out in the world. So that's my style of building. I post less, but what I do more of is I comment more, I friend more people, I message more. What happened when I did that, I spent my time, instead of building more posts, I actually felt awkward. I felt like I was doing something wrong by posting less. I mean, I might only post 3 times a week on my actual page. I post my stories regularly, but 3 times a week sometimes. Like, that's crazy. I used to post 3 to 5 times a day. Nick Martinez says post 5 times a day. That's what I did. I did exactly what he told me.
Yeah, that's what
and
I
I would
do.
go live
My
all the
family.
time. But guess what? I wasn't having success with that. It wasn't working. Does it mean it doesn't work? No, of course it works. Nick's doing amazing, right? Liz, it's working for you. But what I did is said, hey, I have a limited time. So instead of building a new post, what I did is I went and friended more people. I found my tribe and I friended more people. Instead of friending 5 people a day, I'm friending 20 people a day of my people. And then I'm going on their page and I'm spending time on their page and I'm liking their stuff and I'm commenting and I'm sending a private message to everybody. Well, my post went through the roof. My one post is getting 100 comments and getting 150 likes. My son's birthday went crazy, and I used to never get that engagement. So why that mattered so much is, for me, what I realized I needed to do on my social media is I needed to be very specific to my tribe, meaning I needed to know, who am I going for? Who's my audience is pretty simple. It's parents that are into fitness. It's pretty simple, men and women. So who am I going for? So I joined groups. And the second thing I did, I like to be out in town in front of people. So my hometown county, because they know I have a reputation there. It's a pretty good one, I think. At least people know of me there. And my hometown here. When I friend people, it's 90% in those 2 locations. Why? Because I already have a connection there. And I'm more likely, when I go home, to see those people out in town. When I go out to the grocery store, I'm now in conversations for people that are following me on Facebook. You're the guy. You're that guy. You're the guy that does the fasting stuff. Now, the reason I've been posting less on social media, because I'm getting more engagement on it. If I have a post that's going high engagement, I feed that post. If I friend somebody new, I might go, hey, if you're into fasting, you should check out this post I just did. So then I tag them in the post. So I'm feeding my post, if that makes any sense. It's very strategic. I'm slowing down to think through what I'm really trying to do, instead of just massing throwing people out there. But because of all those connections, I'm actually talking to people. I'm spending time developing the relationship with them. At the same time, I have a post that doesn't do very well. I'm going to post sooner after that one, right? And it's still value post. I'm giving value. I'm not going to change the style of the posting. But I hope that, so Liz, what I'm hearing from you is that you, by putting more energy out there, you're getting a lot more engagement. I would ask of you to look at it as a business and say, which is giving me the most? Is it the post, or is it all the activity I'm doing behind the post that's actually giving me more engagement? Because what you might find is that if you do a very strategic post around what dress you should wear, you can get 500 people engaged on that post through all the different works and tags and everything that you're doing. Well, now when you do your next post about ketones or about whatever you're doing, you have 500 people that are pretty fresh on you.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, this girl's really into health too. This is super cool. I like her. Boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom. And you already have a conversation started with them about something else. So it's a natural, easy move. So I want you to, if you're using social media as a business, who are you attracting? My number one goal is to attract people that I can talk to in person. That's my goal, because that's where I'm the best at. So I want to attract people from my hometown and from my local town, my local area. Not only that, if I do an event, I want to do it in my local environments. I don't want to have to try to fly to Atlanta to do my event because I know only strangers. That's just my choice, right? But at the same time, I'm very specific of who those people. Liz or Lisa, I would tell Lisa, if Lisa does booths, she should be in 5 or 10 groups within her local 100 miles, and she should be friending people, so that when she has her next booth and she could do a post and says, hey, come join me at this booth at this really cool fair that I'm doing. So now those people are literally coming and going, oh my God, I saw your post. They're telling you that they saw your stuff. You created your own little sense of community. You created this little tribe around that. If you post 400 times, you might not be able to track all that to know that that's the person. Does that make sense, Lisa?
No.
And Liz?
Yeah.
So I want you to think about it as a business. Where is my energy going and what is it? Activity is going to drive, just being excited and giving activity is the winner. At the same time, it's okay to be a little strategic. I tend to be a worker and not very strategic, and it was not serving me long term. I was getting very few really good engagements moving on. I slowed down and it sped me way up. I've got more signups this month than I've ever had since we started Prove It. And I've been going way slower on my posting and more on my behind the scenes messaging, friending, tagging, liking, commenting. I've really spent most of my time that way, and my post actions went up. Now, if you're somebody that doesn't have a presence on social media, you might need to start driving your presence up, meaning by posting and getting yourself out there and being slow of the next step. So I love that you're doing that, Liz, because I think you got to try both. And you might find a combination of the both that is actually the winner for you. The one that's actually going to give you that you can sustain it. Does that make sense? You might not be able to sustain the intensity right now. And you're like, so what happens is that you just turn it all off and you maybe could keep one or two things and everything goes better than it was even today. So let's see if you can magnify it even further. Okay.
Yeah, well, that's another part. I think like it's the mindset work too. Like it's very important to be doing the mindset work. Like I'm just in a good vibe and energy of the mindset work, the exercise. I just finished a reboot. Like just everything is just kind of the orders are just coming in with it, just the activity, right? Activity and the energy and the excitement. And yeah, like I've been doing lots of booths and markets and festivals and
excitement, y'all. That is the only secret you need to know. It's excitement. Excitement. Take knowledge on ice. You take ignorance on fire over knowledge on ice any day. The challenge is excitement will only run itself for so long and will only keep itself for so long. So take a moment. And Liz, what I would do is I would assess, I'm spending this, doing this, because when it gets cold out in Canada and you're like, I'm just not feeling the same drive right now, getting ready for an event, you can go, but the three things I know I need to do is these. And for me personally, I found that posting less was more successful because I posted all the time, but I wasn't doing the work that was going to drive my post up.
Absolutely.
And I wasn't getting conversions and sales. So it's better for me to post less and engage more than to post more and engage less. That's what I've learned. Now my goal is, what if I can increase them both a little bit? Can I even do better? So now I'm thinking about it from that strategic manner. And I think that helps. And I'm really focused on people that I kind of know. I'm not focused on really strangers. I'm very specific to the people that I want to have a conversation with because it's easier for me to have that conversation. So I don't attract many people that are 100 pounds overweight. They don't follow me. It's not my page. It's not my jam. If you've lost 100 pounds and prove it, you should be a millionaire right now. Because there's a lot of people out there that would like to lose 100 pounds, and you got the secret recipe to do that. And those people literally cut their bellies open to try to solve that problem. Like they literally cut themselves up to solve that problem. So I'm just telling you, it's a gold mine, but you really have to know your audience and find them and then inspire them to take action with you. So long Zoom, guys. I apologize for that. Liz, I appreciate you sharing that. And everybody, thanks for staying on. Remember, it's attraction, or what did Samantha say? Not attraction. Conversations equals results. What is it again?
I think it was action times
exposure.
Yeah.
Exposure. So, right. It's exposure. Get out there. You got to be in front of people. If you're not in front of people, number one, people got to see you. Number two, you got to have the conversations. And Kate gave the biggest tip is like, you're solving for their problems. You're asking the questions. What's prevented you? What stopped you? Why you don't have energy? Why can't sleep at night? Okay. Well, what if you could sleep better and have energy all day long? What would that be worth to you? It's value, right? And then move them into the result. The result is, this is what I did. This is what I started with. This is how I started. Tell them how you started and then allow it to back off from there. The more you spent, the better it is. The more you spent when you started, the better it is, because everything's easier after that. You didn't have to spend $1,000. You can get it for $100. Like my first business, I spent $25,000 on my credit cards. People go, how much is it to join Prove It? I go, well, my first business, I spent $25,000 on credit cards, and it's not that much. So, and I made way more money doing this than I did doing that. Well, now they're like, well, how much is it? Is it 5,000? Is it 10,000? Like, no, it's less than $1,000, you can get everything you need to get started. Really? That's it? Because they thought it was going to be 25,000 because that's what I told them. Does that make sense? So, all right, I got to go. Appreciate y'all. Have a good day. Christina, don't let me talk that long anymore. Kick me off next time. Just shut me up. You guys, end of the month, let's have some fun. There's all these discounts and sales going on. We're going to be doing something special around the reboot to kick off the month. If you didn't reboot with us this last one, I just finished. Actually, I haven't eaten yet, so I need to eat. 61 hours in, actually 62 hours in. If you haven't finished, do the reboot with us. I promise you, you can kick off the month. The reboot is one of the best. The reboot and iFast are one of the best values you can get. And we're going to be combining them next month, where it's going to be iFast right into the reboot with a couple day in between. And people can lose 10 pounds in that. 10 pounds in that. I mean, it's super awesome if that's their goal. And so I'm just telling you, like, that's a great little sale. We can kick off the month that way. You can start off the month with a big boost. So, but you got to be committed to doing it to kick it off that way. So cheers. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done.